All righty. We are live on Athletic Company. This is a podcast of The Athletic Company. We believe that you are a sum or a median of the people you surround yourself with. And so we believe an athletic community improves their health of the people around them. And we believe an unhealthy community also has a outcome on the community they surround ourselves with. And so we are here talking with individuals in our community and about how they challenge themselves, it's called the Athletic Tall 10 Athletic Company. And we are here interviewing and getting to know folks in our community that have challenged themselves. Welcome, Jennifer.
Hi, thanks for having me on your podcast.
We've still not called this a podcast just yet. It's really just recording small, short conversations.
Gotcha. Hanging out. Thanks for having me. Thanks for talking with me.
So yes, so one day maybe you do it long enough and maybe it's a podcast, but
I see.
it's still just the very beginnings of this. So
Got it.
could just be a few before we kind of run dry. So, but yes, thank you for coming on the show. Tell us about yourself.
Well, my name's Jennifer. I am Martin's other half here, co-founder and owner and operator of Midland Athletic Company, which is now the Athletic Company. Mom of 3 boys, and I'm just a wife, mom, and business owner, which not just, I suppose, but that's a little bit about me on a resume type form.
It's funny that you say that because, you know, you just say, "Oh, it's just what I do. It's just some of the things that I do." And I think those are the heart of the people that we like to have on the podcast. Is people that say they are almost that they are not the center of the fisheye. Is that these are all things that I contribute to. They're teams that I'm on.
Mhm.
Instead of saying these are those are things that are much bigger, than
Yeah, for sure.
just what you got going on, and on your own world, they bleed into other people. And so, yeah, we get to have really, interesting and amazing people that we get to talk with and that walk into our doors. And I think it starts with them believing something different about themselves,
Mhm.
and so, but thank you for coming on.
Mhm.
I know your time is extremely limited with what you listed and kind of what you try to focus your work on, and that's what we're trying to figure out today. So we had a couple questions for you, and so one of the first questions we had was, how does your work today have an effect on the kingdom of our Father, the
Mhm.
creator of all things? How do you feel like your work today has has some sort of effects to his overall kingdom today?
Well, thankfully, I do believe that all those teams that I'm on have quite an effect on the kingdom. And so I would just have to say that, you know, the word of God says that you should do everything that you do for the glory of God. And I take that very seriously. I take all of my roles. I liked how you said that, like that I'm on all these teams. I take all of my roles very seriously, not necessarily because of the role itself, but because that is the role that I believe that our Lord has placed me in. And so, even though I fail or, we're just coming off of sickness in our household and you really feel weak, I do take it very seriously that all of my roles are given by Him. And so I believe there is an impact here at the store. I believe that the impact is when you can educate and love on somebody in their spot of need, they come in because they're hurting or because they have a goal. And then we get to come alongside them and like help them with that goal, find the right pair of shoes, or just encourage them in that. I feel like that's just huge for the kingdom because the purpose of doing it is to help them improve themselves. And when we improve ourselves in one area, it brings us closer to our creator because he wants us to be well, you know? And my role in the home, as a mom and as a wife, I find is the ultimate calling for me because I think that the Lord ordained marriage and family. And so I think that that's a huge work in the kingdom is showing respect to the people that I've been given to serve and to love on.
I love that. That is a, you know, when I think back about the people that have ever been on my team, or someone that's really showed an authentic love to me or made an impact on my life, it was them going out of their way to make an impact on me somehow. And they definitely went out of their way. It was not the most convenient way to go, but they went out of their way, and it changed, me. It may not changed every single person that was in that same program that we might have gone through, but yeah, it really changed me, and I just think about how, you know, that's basically what you're saying, like those are all things that I feel like I've been given. So I'm going to improve those things and make them better all the way around.
One of my favorite verses, it's so simple as John 3:30, and it says, "He must increase and I must decrease." And I feel like that's just how you have to look at it, that like this life is not about you, it's about what you're doing for him, for the kingdom. So if you can keep that in mind, that he must increase and I must decrease, then you do look at it as a team, you do look at it as a whole effort, and
Hmm.
hopefully that impact um, is felt.
Yeah, I think that I'm the biggest like takeaway I heard from what you were saying on that was that I really feel like that there's a big difference between uh we talked about how it makes has an effect, is that the decisions that you're choosing to, you know those are all the things that you're trying to work with and kind of make smoother or make work better or whatever those things are. Um those are like things that God tells you to do too, right? Like
Mm,
I could work really hard on a lot of stuff that is maybe not of him and like what he
mm,
calls us to do, but you've decided to like choose into these things that, and kind of, invest into these things that are by him defined as, um, you know, untarnishable is the
right.
word that I kind of say, and
Yeah. Eternal.
eternal,
Hmm.
and we live such a um, you know, physical and non-physical life, and so those things are not necessarily as tangible as
Mm,
like, someone who's following the career or following the what that chosen path or whatever. But
hmm.
um we don't get that physical, um I don't get that
Award,
award,
medal.
but I absolutely get something that is non-physical, and
Mm,
I just think that's one of the most under talked about things in, our faith today, and
hmm.
um what are some things that you feel like you wished we talked more about in our faith?
I think that that's one thing that's unique about our business, is that like, a lot of the times if a customer comes in and they hang out with Martin, like Martin just has a way of like getting to the, to the root of it or just asking like the real questions. And I think that oftentimes we live in a fake world. We have social media, we have AI now, which is wild to wrap your mind around. I don't think we actually can wrap our minds around it. And so I think like actually having just any conversation that has to do with reality, like the real things of life, like how is the family? How are you doing in this season? And just like waiting for their response, looking at each other in the eye. And I think that not being afraid to understand that most of us walking around here are very aware that there is more than this. And so not being afraid to just have those conversations of like, Yeah, like, what are you working on? What are you struggling with? How can I help? I mean, I may not be able to, like, do a ton for you. I'm doing a ton for the people just in my little circle, but listening or encouraging or turning you to the one who can help would be super helpful, just to say like, "Hey, that's real. This conversation is actually happening. It's not on the internet somewhere being made up, like I'm here with you and we have these problems and there is someone that can carry that burden for us, and just reminding people of that. I mean, I came to work today to solve a bunch of problems on my to-do list, and I ended up visiting with some team members who needed to talk through some real stuff, and that took priority over my to-do list, and I think it was valuable.
Absolutely. And we we think ourselves so smart many times that these things that are on our to-do list are greater than the things that are on God's to-do list, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and God has like a
His
to-do
people.
he has like a to-do list for us to do, and it's almost every day, right? Like he
Mm.
has like things that he really encourages us to invest in, and
And, lately I've been encouraged to, like, just ask God what he wants from us, and it's like, how often do we just stop and do that? Like, God, what do you have for me today? What do you want me to say to that person? Who do you want to join the team? Like, how, like, just simply ask him, talk to him.
and and he can just open up a whole different door that than we could, I think those are huge, things. I did want to ask the question about creativity and relativity when we talk about when it's coming to um the new evolution of faith church is creativity and relativity, the two words that we try to use all the time, that we love to see pastors who are relative to love people where they are, and they come to them in a relative proximity way to where this individual feels like they're seen, heard, and understood. And then we are really impassioned and just we always talk about the same people that that are some of our people that we just look up to, and such great in
Hmm.
the faith, people here locally versus people here nationally that are doing these things. And we think about their creativity, and we think about how creative they are, and
Hmm.
how they have done something that, again, the Lord, um he loves his children. Has such an interest in children. He knows every hair on your head,
Mm.
and he created each person individually and creatively, and we get to be bearers of that same truth and light out there in the world. And so we're always like, so talking about future ministry and like where the heart and where you think like what will be these what who will be this next person, if I could ask it like this, that's going to set us free. Who's going to be this next Charlie Kirk, if you want to say, like,
Hmm.
what, not who they are, but what they're going to be doing.
Hmm.
I kind of I cried the other day when I was watching this stupid RFK like workout. He was like this older gentleman,
Hmm.
and he was just putting in work
Hmm.
at the gym, and he showed me what was possible.
Yeah.
And I just remember thinking like, those that is the kind of leader I'm interested in following.
Yeah.
Someone that tells the truth and also shows me that they're willing to go like beyond the physical side of it too,
Hmm.
And I mean, I'm not
I,
gonna,
I
I'm not
know.
gonna say RFK's not hitting test. I'm not gonna
Hopefully not.
I'm
That'd
not
be
gonna
the
say
opposite
that.
of what he's
I'm not
promoting.
gonna say that. Well, now you can get it. It's
Oh, yeah.
it's it's
Clean.
bioidentical.
Right.
And so it's the
I mean, I would have to say, like, creativity is actually not my strong suit at all, you know, and on our team, you're definitely more creative. And so even like these creative type questions are harder for me to answer, you know, but I think about like the Forrest Franks of the world, you know, if you're talking about like national level, you know, and I just think about people that are like using their gifts for the glory of God unashamedly, you know, it's like what you're saying, like RFK has been given a gift of like, I mean, in my opinion, like wisdom when it comes to health and a clear way of explaining it. Whether you agree with him or not, he clearly explains the things that he's learned about health, you know? And I think like Forrest Frank has used his divine gifting to entertain us. And in this world, entertainment is king, you know? So I think that, you know, the next people will be people in the community that are just willing to use their giftings and then give God all the glory, you know? And I think that, like, with the confusion of what is real and what is not real, you know, like, I don't think that we're going to be fooled anymore, you know, to say like, "Oh, that guy's got it all," and, you know, this the smoke and the magic and stuff. Like, I think it's just gonna be people that are aware of their giftings and then give all the glory back to the creator, I think, you know? So, like, just to bring that down to right here and now, you know, like I'm super thankful for what we get to do because I feel like we've kept, you know, we've just decided we've decided like, hey, we're in this community. How can we make it better? You know, health is important. We coined the phrase last year, health is the best hobby. You know, let's spend our time doing things that are worthwhile. But let's be careful to give all the praise back to the creator, the one that created our bodies. You know, there's this song that I listened to when I was training a couple years ago, and it was like talking about like breathing, you know, and it was like how like it's a miracle that you can breathe. There's power in the way that you breathe, you know? And it's like, yeah, because God created us like that, you know? Like, what better way to be very aware of your breathing other than running, you know? So, moving, challenging yourself.
Reaching.
Mm,
So yeah, you you get to hear, we have such a great opportunity to learn from those around us, people that are creating and creative out there in the world. We have a lot of opportunities in today's world too, also to follow along a well-oiled path. I think that that's what we have with um, you know so many great industries that are out there today. You can go and become a pilot. And that's a that's a literally a one-way ticket to some sort of end place, right?
mhm,
Some place that you're trying to go. And so you have those paths. I wouldn't say that those paths come without pain or cost, but I whenever I'm looking at what I'm looking to invest in, I always think it's important to pull out that we live in such a interesting world that where in the beginning, we had a we had someone who loved us so much that went out of his way to provide to us this manual, this book that told us to live for him. This is the way you live for me. This is the way you follow me. And today we could be so in the world that that could be removed, and we have all these millions of options under the sun, every single option that you could ever imagine at the fingertips of almost any individual, especially living in the United States.
mm,
And so we, in that sea of so many options, there's so many things I could invest in. I could invest in so many. I could put my treasure where I could put my heart where my treasure is. My treasure is my heart is, because where I put my time and energy and focus, that's where I'm going to value. And I could come up short if I live in this world. You know, I could come up short if I invest into these things that can absolutely just be,
Go away.
just completely go away.
Mhm.
And he tells us, contrarily, that let me show you somewhere where you never lose. Where I'm going to give you some investment advice. You'll never lose on this game. And but it's so hard to like live in that. It's like super hard to like live that. um and so we get to hear more about um you know more about again, ministry moving forward, how his people organize themselves, come together, and tell another story about the real story, about the his story, but tell it in a way that, again, attracts more people to it. That's creative, that's relative, that's gonna, bring more people in. And as we're closing today, I want you to think about, the your most athletic activity you've ever done. But the way I want you to think about that is like, I want you to think about like it was an athletic activity that you're about to have to do, that, and it could just be anything physical that you prayed before you did it. Like you were like, Lord, I need your help to do this. Like, and only you can get me through this.
Yeah.
And so I want you to think about your most athletic, that you last time you prayed before you did something that was that scary, that was that challenging, and that was that outside your comfort zone, that you had to ask the Lord for help. When was the last time that happened?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask me this, and I am torn for my answer. um, like truly just athletically, physically challenging situation was is probably when we climbed the Manitou incline. I feel like I have to tell you my other thing because I still am very torn, but the other thing was having 3 kids in 3 years. I feel like that was the most physically challenging thing I've ever done, but it didn't happen all at once, but it felt like it did, and if I think about the level of pain that I felt in each of these instances, but I just remember I'm gonna just, choose like the most athletic thing, like it's the Olympics right now, and so like you like watch these people like put their bodies on this like board and go downhill at like 80 miles an hour head first, in the skeleton race and stuff like that. You just think about like truly like challenging things. Like I had seen you do the Manitou incline several times, and just looking up at it, it just seems so daunting. And I also am like not like super happy about heights, and so I remember like I was like, I want to do this. And we had gone up there and you had done a half Ironman. And I was like, if this dude can do a half Ironman, I could totally climb this. But it was so hard. And you got up there and then like you make the mistake of turning around and you're so high, and it was so scary. And I had 3 babies at home and I was like, I can't roll down this mountain, like just have to finish it. I have to finish it. And I feel like I did, the Lord allowed me to. And when I got to the top, it actually like wasn't as hard as I thought it was gonna be, I don't think. I don't know if it's just that rewarding or what, but I do think that that was like cool feat that I accomplished with my body. It's probably definitely cooler that I was able to have 3 kids in 3 years. More eternally rewarding than climbing the Manitou incline, but, uh and definitely took longer to recover from than the Manitou incline as well.
The recovery is always indication of how much.
Took several years to recover from those kids.
The recovery is always the greatest. We can get out there and work real, do some crazy stuff, but there's always that recovery part. Imagine, yeah, you are always amazed by people that can go do that stuff and then like be fine and like, how does that happen?
I know.
Yeah.
Well, we have a friend that like used to run the incline, probably still does, like on a Tuesday, like just for funsies. But
Yeah, and if you're not ready, you'll be knocked out for whole afternoon. Like you go try to
yeah,
go
it
do
was
that
so
first thing
much.
in the morning. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess, yeah, I have two answers. I'm sorry. I couldn't just think of one.
Well, that's really cool. I definitely am always thankful and appreciative of your insight into, you know, our aim and want to be always focused in on, again, things that, I was really, revealed it by the Lord the other day is like, there is um, the you know meaningless or meaningful, and that's basically the two places I can put my faith and trust is in the meaningless or the meaningful, or the worthy and the like worthless. Like I don't want to get ever in a position where I am have invested way too much into something that's like worthless.
Mm,
That is a unending um kind of, anxiety I would
mm,
say that culture has today, is that they're they're often mistaken on where they can invest and always get a return.
mm,
And God's word always points us, and you've always been able to understand that and see that value, and I think that's why you're willing to like risk, us meeting on the mission field, and it would make sense that you were sacrificing some physical with some, non-physical things. It makes sense. Like if you kind of are pretty balanced individual, you would say that there'd be equal parts of sacrifice. And but as we've learned from that scripture, that the obedience is greater than sacrifice.
mhm,
And so, no, there's nothing that we could sacrifice that could be greater than Him placing us somewhere and us being obedient to that work.
mhm,
That's where that work comes from. Work of um, the work that is an automatic outflow after we have believed. It's
mhm.
it's like something that just overflows. It's a fruit.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
scripture says faith without works is dead.
It's a fruit. It's a fruit. And so we get to produce this fruit
Mhm,
as something that we that we used our hands and body to go help become become make ready, and so those are things that I've always seen you be easily able to identify, and I think that's what makes you so successful. You only invest in things that are worthwhile and worth.
There's no choice then to be successful. It's a trick.
It's like you're like often putting stuff in those bins, um, and the bins pay dividends.
Yeah.
I think that those are things that I think neither one of us could ever. I think again where you put their value is very very apparent pretty quick.
Mhm.
Kind of hard for me to kind of hard for me to share, and you know I just my biggest prayer as we move into this like next season ministry, in the United States,
Mhm.
is that we have um, just more of a road, more of a open line of communication, or um, a a way that those avenues are opened to where people can see that those go hand in hand, and that those are even more just understood, easily followed. Those are kind of the words that I've thought of is like easily followed or understood better. That people, whether they've been in our community forever or not, have that opportunity to again choose better in more ways than one. There's so many different ways that we can we can talk about the truth, obey the truth, and benefit off of the practice of the practice of truth. Often use that to our advantage.
Mm,
That's what you want to say. You're taking care of things the way you're supposed to be taking care of things.
mm,
I just that's been super eye-opening part of this experience over the beginning of this last year and like the end of last year. Very eye-opening experience for me to understand that every single person gets to choose more of what they want to do. Everybody gets to choose what they want to do, and if we want the things of God, we can inherit more of heaven. And if we want the things of hell, we can die a darker.
mm.
We can choose either.
Every day. Multiple times a day.
so I just
Yeah.
so I just
And the most ridiculous part of this whole conversation is, I mean, you have these conversations like every day. It's like you just have to be reminded, like I have to be reminded. A simple, like just that simple truth. Like choose who you're going to serve, yourself, the world, or the one who created it all.
I am very blessed and fortunate to again have we talked about the people that we invite on here would be people that we see are out there being creative, being relative. You wouldn't make it on this. You wouldn't make it on this snippet of recording if you hadn't had some sort of story,
Hmm.
and the story is in the individual that goes out there and makes a way, and we're interested in folks that are making a way, pointing that back to Christ as them just being out there, being out there, being a part of the community, being a part of something bigger than themselves. Some people have said, you're as big, you're as on big of a team as you think you are, and you're as little of a team as you think you are. But you're definitely on a team out there. And so we know that the home team and uh, investing in things that we know that are good, um, they bring back a return. We want to have an impact on culture, have an impact, and take a take a step, leap, or hop in that direction. So go out there and have some fun. And thank you, Jennifer Vega,
For Vega.
for coming on
Is it
today.
Jen or is it Jennifer? It's the question I get all the time.
Well, I felt like we just started the podcast like 4 seconds ago, and we're already 35 minutes in.
I was going to say, this is not the tall tin. The tall 45.
So this is the long format that we have, and we will have the what you call middle distance format. Well, we appreciate you, anyone that stopped in and got to hear conversation with the co-founders of the athletic company and why we're around and what makes us go to work every day. Definitely not the smell of shoes, nor the organization of shoes, but it is for what the souls do in the shoes and the motivation around that. We're your one-stop shop for athletic goods. We help you find the best fitting shoes. We get you fit, get you in the proper size fit, so you can get down the road rolling all having fun. We do monthly challenges where we have individuals come out, take part in a monthly challenge throughout the year, and just give you something else to aim at as you're looking forward. So we have that calendar up on our website. Thank anyone that would be hopping on with us. And we hope that you yourself set a goal.
If you are athletic company and you have something to share, you can reach out to us. We'd love to have people on here talking about how they're challenging themselves and what they're doing for our community.
We would love any inquires. Thank you very much. We'll talk soon.